Hello, high tier players. Today's video is going to be about strategists, and we're going to try to cover as much of the category as possible with as many of the rank specific advices and tips as possible. However, if I'm being honest here, most of the lower ranks, it just kind of blends all together. You just kind of need general advice down at this point. Most of the more specific stuff comes when you hit like GM and above. So I'm going to do as many as I can. I don't really feel right doing anything for Celestial just yet because I have knocked on Eternity's door a couple of times, but I have not managed to consistently stay up there. So until I manage that, I will stay away from advising on Celestial just yet until I'm positive I have fully conquered that level. Now, one exception also for the Strategist category, I have to exclude Jeff. Now, I love you, Jeff. You're a cute little guy. You're awesome, and I love when good Jeffs are on my team. However, Jeff is played so differently from the other strategists that he really belongs more in the flank DPS kind of category, or duelist category. So he'll be in that video. This will include all the other strategists, sans Jeff. So let's go ahead and get started, beginning with the Metal Leagues. So these beginning four, as I mentioned before, they kind of blend together in my opinion. And you'll find that a lot of higher level players also have this opinion of the lower leagues. And it's just because from our perspective, every one of these four has the same problems. Now, I guess there's a bit of more consistency once you get towards like the higher end of Platinum, but I don't even know really anymore. If you'd asked me about a month ago when the ranks were a lot more squished down towards the bottom and people weren't properly exactly where they should be yet, then yeah, I would have said about Platinum 1, Diamond 3 was kind of where you started seeing people exhibiting proper strategy and their roles correctly. However, now, with it being this late in the season, honestly, no. These four really can be advised in about the same way because it's all basics. If you master the basics, you will simply get out of these four. It's almost inevitable. It's just a statistical inevitability. So I would really like to lump Diamond in here with these now, but just because there's bans, I'm going to go ahead and make that the next section. So let's go ahead and start with the first four. So for this level, what you're trying to do is master your three modes. You need to have three different gears that you can shift between: a primary mode, a secondary, which involves your cooldowns, and then a third, which involves your ultimate. And as long as you can accurately pick when to activate these three tiers, you will become a top level strategist. That's all it takes. The name Strategist is actually very aptly named because that's pretty much what you're focused on. The mechanics of these characters are extraordinarily simple. They're, as a lot of people try to call them, brain dead. They are simplistic because it frees up your mental space to think about the larger strategy of things, timing of ults, use of abilities in terms of efficiency, maximizing efficiency, that is. These are the hallmarks of a good strategist. They will have very, very high degrees of being able to use these three modes efficiently and also making sure that they're so good that their primary modes and secondary modes using their cooldowns can even deal with some enemy ultimates without having to use their own ultimates. This is the reality of a very, very impressive strategist at the top. So the second piece of advice that I would have for the first four leagues is to cover one of the most common mistakes that supports down at this level have, and that'd be positioning. There are two positions that you have to keep track of, and that's really far back. That's if there's no dive, and then kind of like a mid to long range issue. You'll probably be in front of really long poke range heroes like Hela or Black Widow or Hawkeye, but you will definitely be behind any of the mid range heroes like Bucky, Punisher, any of your vanguards. You're certainly not up there with them. You're probably about 10 to 15 meters behind where all the action, kind of like the front line of the action is happening. And you'll be doing that if you're being dove, because you need to be a little bit tighter into the formation if there's like a Spider-Man, Black Panther, any of these heroes that are just constantly living in your backline and harassing you the entire game. The other part is if you're positioning yourself way far back, this is if the enemy does not have a lot of dive. It is simply safe for you to be back here. It is the safest zone. It'll be really hard for any of their closer range heroes to reach you, and you can kind of passively heal your team. This is honestly the easiest position. If the enemy team lets you do this, you can just kind of brain dead the entire game. Just enter gear one, sit there firing off accurately, and you'll just end up winning. So these next three, if you ask people that are Eternity and above, you pretty much get the same exact opinion that they had of the first four. They say that these three are pretty much all lumped together as the same because everyone's working on the same exact problem.
They're no longer working on positioning or the basics of the 3 gears of their hero. They're now working on the efficient use of their ults. The difference in your ult usage, especially better ult usage, better timing specifically, separates diamonds from celestials, and really that's about it. It's a varying sliding scale of who's better at doing that, because the less mistakes you make, the higher you go. Now, ultimate efficiency, what do we mean by that? It's pretty much just a timing difference between you and the enemy strategist ults. So say, for example, they go ahead and hit their button. What you don't want to do is what I call reflexive ultimate usage, and you'll see this a lot in Diamond and GM. The strategists will just hit Q as soon as the enemies have hit Q, and I guess they listen for the voice line or something, and it's almost just like a reflexive tick, just, oh, they use it, I gotta use mine. And they don't really think about the overall situation when they're doing it. I see this constantly where they'll use their ultimates in just like the worst scenarios where, say, the enemy's already gotten a pick or two. They might even be making a mistake like that, where they've already gotten a pick or two and they're winning the engagement and they just wasted a support ult just cuz. And now your supports wasted their ults in tandem with the enemy ult, so now the enemy mistake really, I mean, there's no window for you to exploit anymore. That's one way that they throw away very big, clear windows where you could take back the point, take back a couple percentages, and could even win that round out of it. So these are very small things that might not affect you at the lower ranks, but at the upper ranks, it really is about fine-tuning all these little things. It's not about being overall just cracked out at your hero. It's more so that you just make a lot less mistakes. Whoever makes a better performance consistently will go up. At least that's the theory that we're running on right now. So the correct high-level response to the enemy using a bunch of ultimates is to enter gear 2 and hold out for at least 2 to 3 seconds against their onslaught, just keeping everybody alive. Then pop your ultimates. This creates a 2 to 3 second window at the end of your ultimate duration where your ultimates are still active and the enemies are not, thus mirroring the advantage that the enemies had by hitting their button first. So this is how you properly counter an enemy ult situation, and will allow you to even potentially take the advantage, because if you use this correctly, your single ultimate could end up countering 2 or even 3 enemy ultimates altogether. This is how you'll end up with a much more efficient ult usage between you and hopefully the other strategists. Hopefully they're not making you solo strategists, that's an awful idea. And you just keep doing that over and over again and you will end up going up. So no guide would be complete without also touching on the meta. Season 0, we saw the rise of the triple support meta towards the end of it, and we certainly saw its dominance in the first half of Season 1. Now, triple support was one of those comps that did work at the upper levels. We saw a significantly above 50% win rate for it, but at the lower elos, we saw an abysmal win rate. It was something like 32 to 37%, very, very, very low. It just doesn't work without the teamwork, and I think that the new meta forming in the upper levels, which is a variation of triple support, is going to be in the same boat. I don't think that they'll be able to have lower elos really managing the same results that the upper elos get, and it's because of the teamwork surrounding an Adam Warlock and Mantis comp specifically. The res mechanics with Adam Warlock, if you didn't know the team up, it lets Mantis and Star-Lord self-res themselves if they've just been picked. I mean, the windows are pretty good, 10, 12 seconds, where you can float around, try to find a safe spot, usually up in the ceiling somewhere around a corner and cover, where you can safely res and get around the respawn mechanic. Adam Warlock's ult, of course, being properly used, also is a giant team fight changer, which can reverse everything, even if you just got half the team picked. So them using all these reses together in tandem with the new buffs and the teamwork makes it very, very difficult, because you'll be facing a 6v8 to a 6v10 or above even sometimes, honestly. You could be facing 2 teams worth of enemies if they get these spawns off and you don't properly track where they're doing it. It's very, very hard to do in the thick of things. So that's the new comp that's starting to form up in the upper elos. I wouldn't really worry about this if you're in the lower ranks though, because again, the teamwork's just not there. You don't see a whole lot of Warlock players either down at those ranks, because prior to this, he just wasn't that fantastic, especially for if you were trying to solo strategist or solo queue strategist rather. Not solo strategist, don't ever solo strategist, it's a horrible comp. So yeah, this meta, you should be aware of it, and if you're in the upper elos, I would recommend at least trying to dip into Warlock Mantis, because it is that strong, especially if you're going through like GM1 and above. I would start using this comp immediately. But below that, really just stick to your straight up pure healers. Your Luna Snows, your Cloak and Daggers, your Invisible Woman. Just stack those ults, work on the efficiency of all of those, and you will end up climbing these ranks. In the upper elos,
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point where we kind of have to start following meta trends. And I would keep a very, very close eye on this Adam Warlock and Mantis meta because I'm seeing it more and more in my games. It's just, it was a rare sight to see it first. Now it's almost every game. So I'm pretty sure this is starting to become meta. Keep a very close eye on this. I'll also keep you updated on any changes that I see up here. So those are the 3 main areas of Strategist that I think you need to work on if you want to reach, at the very least, the upper levels of Celestial right now. I hope you found this guide very helpful. I will be releasing more guides in the future. I'm going to start trying to release at least one of these larger guide type videos, at least until I've finished what I think are all the categories, the main categories of playstyles you can cover in this game. Probably weekly. Every weekend I'll upload one of these, as well as a medium part of content covering something else in the game. So until next time, stay on that high tier, players. The view from up here is always worth it.